Okay, sit yourself onto your left and come into a good cross-legged position. I thought there was a cat there. So sit yourself in cross legs, just have a little wriggle about, just make sure that you're sitting evenly, that you feel like you're sitting evenly on the seat bones, and then hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Just focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. So aim to still the eyes in the sockets. And fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. Breathing into both lungs evenly. Breathing out of both lungs evenly. And without consciously moving the eyes, just draw your focus down into the seat bones. Just ascertain whether the seat bones are genuinely level, or perhaps they need just rearranging. And then just reset in the center. And then release your hands, bring your hands into Namaste, lengthen from the armpits into the elbows. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Just focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Just hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just connecting the thumb and the index finger, stretching the other fingers away from the palm, just a gesture of wisdom and knowledge and insight and peacefulness. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to gently open. So hold on to your knees and elevate the heart area upwards. Draw in your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation, and on the exhalation, draw the chin forwards and down to meet the chest in Jalandhara Bandha. At the same time, draw your shoulders away from your ears, but keep the chest in contact with the chin. Keep lifting the chest up to meet the chin, drawing the shoulders away from your ears so that you lengthen the back of your neck. Take a deep inhalation, and on the exhalation, raise your chin up to the ceiling as high as you can get it. Feeling the front of the neck really stretching out, keeping the shoulders down. On an exhalation, draw your chin downwards to meet the chest. Drawing the shoulders down. Feeling the stretch at the back of the neck. And on an exhalation, draw the chin up to meet the chest. On an exhalation, bring the head back level. Wherever the next exhalation comes, draw your right ear down to meet the right shoulder, but keep the right shoulder away from the ear, so you might not make that contact, but you'll feel a deep stretch on the left side of the neck. So as you bring your neck to the side, just observe how the weight on the seat bones changes, and just realign the torso with the two hips to make the seat bones level. On an exhalation, lift the head and then bring the left ear over to the left shoulder. Same action. So observing from the seat bones, keep lifting the heart area, just stretching out that right side of the neck. On an exhalation, come back to the center and over to the right. And on an exhalation, come back to the center and over to the left, maintaining the lift of the heart area. Just feeling that stretch along the right side of the neck, maybe even down into the hands, into the arm. And then on an exhalation, come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, take a deep inhalation, and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders, just observing your body's response to the turn. Using the out breath to intensify the turn, but just keeping the neck soft, trying to avoid looking over the shoulder. And then come back to the center. Just lift the chest on an in breath and then turn to the left on an out breath. Digging the back hand firmly into the floor to maintain the lift of the heart area, the length of the spine, the extension of the spine. Using the out breath to move more deeply into the pose. Synchronizing your breath with the action. Synchronizing the action with the breath. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Drawing your shoulders down. And then just come off your lift and then sit back down onto your heels. So the big toes are together, the knees are apart, and then lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area upwards and coming into Adho Mukha Virasana. Doing your utmost to maintain that connection between the seat bones and the heels, keeping the chest lifted as you come forward, stretching out the spine as you lengthen, and then bring the forehead down. If you lose contact with the seat bones by bringing the forehead down onto the floor, then put a block underneath your head. Stretching out the arms, hitting down onto the heels. So there are a number of extensions here, from the hips into the armpits, but from the armpits into the hips. So there's two-way stretches from the armpits into the elbows, into the wrists, into the palms, into the fingers, into the fingernails. From the fingers into the armpits, into the seat bones, down into the heels. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations, allowing there to be a little pressure on the forehead to quieten the brain. Just lift your head. Keep your right hand where it is. Thread the left arm underneath the right armpit, bringing that left shoulder down onto the floor. If you can, bringing your head down onto the floor. And then activate both arms really firmly, pressing the left arm deeply into the floor, trying to push it into the floor. Keep the right arm firmly in Virasana, and try and keep the seat bones down, even though they'll lift. But try and draw them down. Try and roll the chest down to face the floor. And then just release that left arm, come back into Virasana, just Adho Mukha Virasana, just stretching forwards, just maybe feeling the difference in the shoulders. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Raise your head, keep your left hand where it is, thread the right arm underneath as far away from the armpit as you can, and then lengthen both arms. Press the
left arm really firmly into the floor. From the forearm, from the palm of the hand, as well as the upper arm. Activating that left arm in Adho Mukha Virasana, trying to sit the seat bones down on the heels, rolling the chest down to face the floor. So the more firmly you work that right arm into the floor, the more you stretch out in the arm, in the shoulder blade region. And then just release. Come back into Adho Mukha Virasana. Stretching out into the arms. Sitting the seat bones down on the heels. And then just for a moment or two, just rest your arms just on at the sides of the legs. Feeling that additional pressure on the forehead. If it becomes too much, then consciously lengthen from the shoulders into the fingertips. So that gentle pressure between the eyebrows helps to quieten the brain. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then sit yourself up. Just sit back on your heels, lift up into the chest, opening the front chest, elevating the heart area upwards, and then just walk your hands behind you. Have your hands underneath your shoulders. So hands underneath your shoulders. And then push the hands really consciously into the floor. Press them down into the floor and then lift from the wrists up into the armpits. So you might just want to go to here, just lifting from the wrists up into the armpits so that the front chest really opens and lifts. Or you might want to push your knees into the floor a little more firmly, turn the tailbone in, and then lift the seat bones away from the heels, and you can lengthen into the chin, keeping the wrists lengthening up into the armpits. It's a little variation on parivrtta. And then just release your head. Just bring yourself back onto Virasana, just observing. So you get a really good stretch around the shoulders, don't you? And then come onto all fours. Have the hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, and then try and place the shins really firmly down onto the floor. That's difficult, isn't it? But you can at least attempt it. So if you try and press the shins into the floor, maybe you notice that rather than the inner knees pressing into the floor, if you press the shins into the floor, then you come onto the center of the shin. So we're just going to do the cat and cow. So lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, away from the backs of the knees, away from the backs of the thighs, turning the tailbone up to the ceiling, and then lengthening from the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. So you're concaving in the shoulder blade region. Giving the front chest and the abdomen a really good stretch. Keeping the shins down if you can. And then tuck the tailbone inwards. Draw the tailbone inwards. Draw the chin in towards the chest so that the back comes into a rounded shape, like a tortoise. Stretch in the back of your neck. And then, so that's the cat stretch. And you see cats stretching like this quite regularly, don't you? And then tilt the tailbone
and the seat bones up to the ceiling, and then lengthen from the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Lifting the chin upwards, extending the chin away. So this is the shape that we want for dog down. The tailbone and the seat bones lifting up, the abdomen driving forwards towards the diaphragm, towards the collarbone, towards the chin, so that the back concaves slightly. We don't want to collapse the back in dog down, but we want some concavity there. Just one more time, just tucking the tailbone in, going back into the cat, just stretching out in the opposite direction. And then just come back into just the neutral position. Step your feet back a little, bring your hands as wide apart as the mat, just to give you extra space for your first dog down. Turn your toes under, have your feet as wide apart as your mat, and then with bent knees, just work to tilt the seat bones up, the tailbone up towards the ceiling. And make the action of tilting the seat bones and the tailbone up be the action that starts to straighten the legs. So activate the fronts of the thighs, lifting the fronts of the thighs up towards the top of the leg, pressing the front of the knee through to the back of the knee, pressing the front of the shin through to the back of the shin. Just breathing even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Stretching out your tension. Observe that there is even effort between the hands and the feet, the arms and the legs, spine and the arms, the spine and the legs. Keep your legs where they are, keep your feet rather where they are, keep your hands where they are. Swing the hips forwards into dog. Up, keeping the legs away from the floor, pushing into the heels, like we were doing in the cow, lifting the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. But work to really press into the heels of the feet. And then come back up into dog down. Breathing even, deep inhalations and exhalations, trying to draw your weight away from the heel of the hand and into the palm of the hand. One more time, swing the hips forward, come up into dog up, turn the crease of the elbows to face the front, push into the heels, lengthen the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Pushing into the heels. And then come back up into dog down. Just taking deep inhalations and exhalations, listening to the breath. And then step your feet forwards, just come up into standing position, and then have your feet as wide apart as your mat. If you've got a stiff back at the moment, you can use blocks underneath your hands, coming into half uttanasana, however it feels right. But sometimes it can be nice to go into full uttanasana, but just of course observe how your back is feeling. So lift up into the chest, have your feet as wide apart as the mat, hitting the heels outwards a little, turning the big toes in a little, lifting up into the chest, and then raise your arms. Have your arms wide to start off with, so that you're elevating the heart area to the skies. It's a good action for positive thinking.
And then bring the arms a little closer together so that they're parallel, and then hook the thumb into the crease of the elbows. Wrap your fingers around your elbows, and then hinging at the hips, keeping the back straight as you come down, using the hips as your hinge, and then just allow the top of the body to hang down, keeping the legs firm, hitting the shins back, lifting the kneecaps, the thighs, frontal thighs lifting up to the top of the leg, pushing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Okay, and then just release your hands down to the floor. Bring your hands into your hips. Bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then come into Tadasana. Just have the inner edge of the feet together, lifting up into the chest. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Spreading into the fingertips, just drawing your consciousness into the fingers, into the toes, into each individual toe, into each individual finger. Stretch your arms out in front, interlock the palms, turn the palms all the way out, don't worry about cracks and pops, that's good. And then raise your arms over your head. Squeezing the outer elbows in, trying to keep your weight in the heels, so it may very well fluctuate, but try and draw your weight into the heels. And then release, just swap the interlock of your fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. And then gently release your arms, lift up into the chest, spread into the fingers. Just bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart nice and wide. Turn your left toes in, the right leg and foot all the way out, lift up into the chest, and then come down into trikonasana. So I'm purposely not giving you very much instruction within your trikonasana, because I want you to just bring some of that action of previous learning into the pose. Because we need to become our own teachers as well as just to study. And study is in the kind of broader sense, using time on the mat as like our opportunity to just see where the body is today. So feel the pose and make those little corrections, those big corrections and those micro corrections. Reach up, come back to the center, keep the arms outstretched, turn the right toes in,
the left leg and foot all the way out, lift up into the chest, and then come down over to the left side. Don't forget about that back leg. Keep the back leg working firmly, keep the front leg turning. So just making your own corrections. Just so that you feel lighter within the pose. And back to the centre, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Just coming back into Tadasana, just listen to the sound of the breath. Breathing even, deep inhalations and exhalations. So get yourself a couple of blocks for the right side of your mat. We're going to go to parsva and then into parivrtta trikonasana from there. So lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area up to the ceiling, just finding your levelness. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet nice and wide. Turn the right toes in steep, so the left toes in steeply, the right leg and foot all the way out, and then pick up that back heel, turn it out a little more so you can really rotate these thighs inwards. Have your hands on your hips, make sure that the hips feel level. Really activate that back leg, tightening the kneecap. Lift up into the chest, and then hinge again at the hips, and reach down and find the blocks, and lengthen into the front chest. So even if you can reach down to the floor, just stay on the blocks to start off with, just to initiate yourself into the pose. Lengthening the abdomen, just feeling that the hips are level, that back leg hip isn't higher than the left hip, than the right hip, sorry. If you can go down a little lower, then do. Just go down incrementally. Just see where your body will allow you to go into today. If you can reach down to the floor, then do, but not at the expense of rounding the back. We want the cow shaped back for this pose. So we're going to bring the left hand over to the little toe side of that right foot. So you might want blocks for that. You might want to put your hands on a block, or bring your left hand over to the little toe side of the right foot, and then bring the right hand into the small of the back, and then lengthen the spine. Keep the legs really firm, and then turn the chest to the right side. Draw the abdomen from the left to the right. Draw that top shoulder towards the left side of the room. And then if you can, reach up. Lengthen up into the chest. Turn in the abdomen. Drawing the abdomen across. Okay, and then just bring that top hand down. Bring the hands either side of the front foot, and then bend that front leg. Step yourself forwards, and then come up into a standing position. Put the blocks on the other side of the mat. So breathe in evenly. So parivrtta trikonasana, even though it's quite a challenging one to balance, it's a really good stretch for the back. So whenever I've got a stiff back, I always really appreciate parivrtta trikonasana, because it helps to lengthen out the spine.
around the muscles of the back. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet apart. Turn your right toes in, that left leg and foot all the way out, and then pick up the heel of that back leg and turn it out so that you can bring the thighs, the fronts of the thighs inwards, and that helps you to bring the hips level. So have your hands on your hips and make sure that they feel like they're in line with each other. Lift up into the chest, keeping that back foot pressing firmly into the floor, and then hinge at the hips, and then reach down and get the blocks. Just starting high, just to give yourself time to warm into the pose. If you can go down any lower, then do, remembering that you can always use the block for your parivrtta trikonasana stage. So before you turn, just make sure that your hips feel level. So turn the fronts of your thighs. So Ruth, turn the front of the thigh, that back leg, in a little more from the little toe side to the big toe side. That's it, so your hips become more level. Projecting the chin and the chest forwards, and then come down to the floor if you can, or just stay on the block. Just projecting the chin and the chest forwards. Then bring the right hand onto the little toe side of the foot, or you can always take the block with you and put the hand onto the block. Bring the left hand into the small of the back, and then turn across to the left, drawing that top shoulder towards the back of the room, and then reaching up if you can. Turn in the abdomen, turn in the ribs, turn in the shoulders. Just listening to the breath, keeping that back leg really firm. Okay, and then just uncoil, bring the hands back down onto the floor, bend that front leg, step forwards, and then come up into Tadasana. And then just come back to the breath. Stretch your arms out in front, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. Release your arms, just swap the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. Opening the armpits to the sides of the room. Squeezing the outer elbows in. And then gently release your arms, come down onto your knees and just sit back on your heels for a moment. Just sit back on the heels, lift up into the chest. Just observing how your body is feeling right now. And then come into cross legs. Just swastikasana or half padmasana, whichever feels most comfortable. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side with the exhalation. Digging that back hand firmly into the floor. Drawing your abdomen across so the belly button points at that right knee and beyond it. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, and then turn to the left.
come back to the centre. Just come down onto the floor and come into supta baddangulyasana, just to settle your back onto the floor. If there's stiffness in your hips, you can put blocks underneath your thighs. Otherwise, just using the floor to realign the spine, pressing the heels consciously together. Pressing the outer edge of the foot consciously together, lengthening the inner knees into the inner groins. That's the wrong way around, the inner groins into the inner knees. Just lengthen up into the arms, interlock the fingers again, turn the palms all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. If you've got stiff shoulders, you can put a folded blanket or some blocks underneath your arms. Otherwise, just use the floor. Drawing the abdomen towards the spine. Broadening out from the abdomen into the abdominal walls. Drawing the abdominal walls down towards the floor. Just release your hands, swap the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way up, and then stretch your arms away. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. And then release your arms, just rest your hands on your lower ribs. Just rest yourself into the floor. And then get hold of the sides of the mat like you want to tear it apart. Bring the knees together, bring the knees into your chest, and then stretch your legs up for viparita karanhi, keeping the tailbone area, the sacrum and the tailbone down on the floor as you lengthen your legs up to the ceiling. Turn the crease of the elbows out to face the sides of the room so that the collarbone remains broad. Listen to the breath. And then bend your knees. Bring your feet down onto the floor. And then just rock yourself up into a seated position for a moment. Get the blanket, a folded blanket for your head, just making sure that it's evenly folded. And then just come up onto your elbows, straighten yourself out, down along the centre of your mat, making sure you're in a good straight line, because that will help you to relax, stop you from needing to fidget about. Just move your equipment out of the way and allow yourself to release down
into the floor. Letting the legs completely relax. Letting the legs relax. Letting the muscles of the legs soften. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And hook the muscles of the arms and the legs, allowing the physical body to become heavy on the floor. And then out of that heaviness comes a sensation of lightness that radiates out from the muscles, so out from the bones and into the muscles. Into the organs. Into the flesh and the skin. Use your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of lightness evenly down into the toes, into the fingers, into the top of the head. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana. Pull your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just come back into cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice, the
this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And send some of that positive energy out into the world. Release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy, giving yourself a really good stretch out, and you've given yourself some good positive energy to put into your day. Thank you very much for joining me.